Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. This is a Ukraine war breaking news update that I'm just about to share with you because I thought it would be easier to do a live actually, and sometimes it works like that. Some good news here coming from the socials concerning what's taking place at the moment inside particularly occupied Russia, but also possibly into Russia itself. It's been a long time since we have heard that Ukraine has used Storm Shadow missiles. In fact, I think the last time was probably up in Kursk region some many months back, and I've been wondering whether they still have any Storm Shadow missiles or Scalp-EG. Remember, they've received these from the UK initially, and then France, Storm Shadow cruise missiles from the UK, Scalp-EG from France, and then Scalp-EG some from Italy as well, but they're not allowed to use the Italian ones into Russia. It's worth reminding people what cruise missiles are compared to ballistic missiles. Ballistic missile, you fire them up like that, and they have a parabolic trajectory. They go up very high into the Earth's atmosphere and then right back down very quickly, and you can't really change the trajectory of them while they are flying. With cruise missiles, they fly much more horizontal, a much more horizontal pathway that you can change as it is flying. So sometimes they can sort of dogleg around a place, but they fly a lot slower, a lot more slowly, and as a result, you can shoot them down more easily. Storm Shadows, I think they have been intercepted. I would love to know the interception rate and the success rate for Storm Shadows, but that's not information we particularly have. So now what has happened? Well, potentially a number of places have been hit by Storm Shadows, which suggests that they have a few Storm Shadows, right? And if they are able to fire them at a number of different locations, then that is good news for the Ukrainians. Okay, let's show what we know so far. So here we have news that tonight the Ukrainian Air Force is carrying out what appears to be its first large-scale cruise missiles raid in months on Russian targets. Missiles and explosions have been reported in Rostov, Crimea, and Donetsk. Now, it's not certain that cruise missiles have hit all of these places. Certainly, I think Donetsk. Cruise missiles have flown over Crimea, or at least have been in the skies above Crimea. Whether they've hit Crimea or past Crimea to go further onwards, maybe towards Rostov, maybe even towards Astrakhan, we're not going to find out. We'll talk about that in a wee while. Let's start with Donetsk. So just to give you an indication of Donetsk, so here's my map. You have occupied Ukraine over here, Donetsk Oblast, and then the city of Donetsk here. And there's a place that has been hit fairly close to Donetsk, but possibly also Donetsk, maybe several places in Donetsk Oblast and around the city. Let's go to, not to there. We are going to go to occupied Donetsk is under attack this evening with Ukrainian drones pounding Russian targets there. Loads of videos of explosions in the city, says Tim White here. So you can see there's definitely some destruction going on in Donetsk city itself. The Sokol market area in Donetsk was heavily bombarded. A lot of drones did seem to be shot down. So the confusion is also going to be rife, because I think drones are active as well. So it's going to be difficult to know what's been carried out by drone strikes and by drones being taken down and landing on the ground, and also what's happened as a result of cruise missiles. There's a lot of smoke and damage too. Now, not just Donetsk city either. The town of Yazi Nuvata, just north of Donetsk, was also hit. Multiple explosions were heard, possible secondary blasts indicating ammunition stores being hit. So sorry you didn't see that. So I'm doing it slightly differently tonight, so I have to change the tab each time. So there is the fire raging in Donetsk as a result of a strike in the city there. And then there's other imagery coming out of potentially of drones being downed in Donetsk, and then video also of Yazinovata. If we just put that name into our map here, and I'll show you that, we should get an idea of where that is. So Yazinovata is quite close to Donetsk city, so just north of Donetsk. There's Donetsk city. Give you an idea of where that is on the map as a whole. And if we zoom in here, this may be you can see there's a big railway junction there. It may well be that that's where the railway junction has been hit. So we're going to come and look at that in a sec. Let's go back to sharing the different sources. So Yazinovata, Donetsk, at least 6 strikes. So this is possibly where the railway junction is. But there's also talk about an oil depot being hit too. So several places being hit, and it's difficult to know exactly where these all are. Very satisfying footage of a strike on Donetsk, says War Translated reports that it hit the army headquarters of Russia's 8th Combined Arms Army, waiting for more information there. In fact, we're going to look at a video. I don't know if it's of there. It's somewhere without so much fire of supposedly the emergency services going into it. And you can see how deep these strikes go, how deep the missiles can go. So it's reported that Ukrainian Air Force has carried out deep strikes in the Donetsk region using Franco-British Scalp, e.g. Or Storm Shadow cruise missiles. And so you can see definitely a cruise missile there, and that is a telltale sound of a cruise missile. And you can also just about catch it as the shape of it as well. That doesn't show the wings, but there is imagery of a Storm Shadow with wings as well. So pretty certainly a Storm Shadow missile or similar. Here we have that imagery of the burning building in Donetsk, a full video from Donetsk there. This is a minute long, so quite a lot of destruction in Donetsk city. We're going to actually move on. So the headquarters of the 8th Combined Arms Army of the Russian Armed Forces, that's supposedly what the strike is there. Now, I don't know if that is the same as the fire we are seeing there. It's very difficult at the moment to know for sure exactly what's been hit, but certainly multiple targets hit, which is good news. Okay, now 4 strikes, probably Storm Shadow at the railway junction in temporarily occupied Donetsk region. Okay, so now we're talking about the railway junction, and this could well be the Yazinovata railway junction we were just looking at. Let's just remind ourselves of that. Could well be here that has been hit. A useful place to hit. They can take out critical infrastructure. It's rather easy to repair railways themselves, but railway tracks, that is. But if you take out critical infrastructure like that, that's going to be a little bit more challenging, I would have thought. So anyway, back to where we were. So that is the claim that Storm Shadows, probably Storm Shadows, says Max 25, hitting with 4 strikes at the railway junction, although we did also hear about 6 strikes in Yazinovata. So who knows, a lot of strikes. Intel Schizo here says, oh my God, my excitement, you guys, Ukraine's doing missile attacks on the rail yards. So if you remember, Intel Schizo is an open source intelligence source that I have referred to previously, that has been complaining for some time as to why the Ukrainians aren't hitting the railway infrastructure nearly as much as he thinks they should. And recently, I did a video on this. Recently, the Ukrainians have been targeting railways, and he's been pretty excited about that. And now the claims are that missiles are reported to have arrived at a railway station and in the area of the metallurgical plant. Arrivals were also recorded in the occupied town of Yazinovata in the Donetsk province. That all could be the same strike, the same set of strikes. So it could be Yazinovata railway station and maybe a metallurgical plant nearby, but I'm not sure at all. I'm just sort of piecing things together. So again, Yazinovata, that's the picture from there. And then as a result of a drone attack, an oil depot in Luhansk is burning heavily. So alongside this, it appears that an oil depot has been hit by drones. So drones are active as well as cruise missiles. So that's all good news, as I keep saying. Right. So here we have some other footage, and this is from further away. Multiple fires now rage across the city, says Jason J. Smart. Occupied Luhansk is burning after Ukrainian drones struck. So this is not Donetsk, this is Luhansk. I don't know exactly where, but you can see from this, you can see two large fires in the distance there. So really significant strikes taking place from both missiles and potentially drones. Now, I'm not sure exactly what place this is. There doesn't look to be fire, and the claim is that this is straight after the Donetsk, the first minutes after the strike. So is this a Storm Shadow missile that's wreaked havoc on a building? I mean, you can see that there's some fire somewhere around here, but not in this particular building. Actually, we're going to look at this because I think it's I'm going to actually turn the sound down now. You can see a lot of destruction here. There's no sign of fire, and there's no sign of fire services. This looks like somewhere that hasn't burnt at all, but has been fundamentally blown apart. And look down here. So this is the potential of the Storm Shadow missile. So the Storm Shadow missiles have a broach warhead that has a two-stage warhead, where these are essentially bunker busters. So they can explode initially to explode away the outer part of the edifice, the bunker, the building, whatever, blows apart the outer walls, and then that allows the rest of the warhead to go in and explode inside. So you get like a two-stage effect here. The Taurus is thought to be just, basically a better version of the Storm Shadow, but they both work on the same kind of principle here. So you can see how deep this is down, right down into the basement, and below that looks like 2 floors below, maybe where they are at the ground level here. So this has really done some damage. I'll let that play for a second while I have a sip of tea. And you can see opposite, there's a burning building opposite. So it looks like there have been multiple hits each side of the road there, one resulting in flames and explosion, and this one less so, just massive destruction of the building. I'm just going to forward that on, see if there's anything else worth looking at. And so there you go. So we'll come out of that one. That is somewhere in Donetsk, I presume. I mean, that could be the headquarters of the 8th Arms Army. I don't know. Then we get the claim that the Crimean bridge has been closed. Local media reports that nearly a dozen Ukrainian fighter jets launched Storm Shadow missiles toward occupied Crimea. Now, you can see that this is in the daytime here. There's a nice sunny sky there, and it is at the moment almost midnight UK time. So this must have happened really quite some time ago, because Ukraine is 2 hours ahead of where we are now. You can hear him say Storm Shadow there. Пошли. Storm Shadow. So 2 separate videos there spliced together of Storm Shadows flying over Crimea. The Crimean bridge has been closed. Local media report that nearly a dozen, as I mentioned, fighter jets. So let's move on to this one. Crimean Telegram channels report a missile strike on Russian-occupied Crimea. So the claim is that it's a strike on Crimea, but actually there's no evidence of any destruction on Crimea at the moment. Here we have French aid to Ukraine saying the Ukrainian Air Force reportedly launched a major cruise missile attack on Russian-occupied Crimea. tonight with footage of cruise missiles. So according to Russian channels, a number of Storm Shadow or Scout-PG missiles were seen flying low towards targets on the Crimean Peninsula. Then we have this from Ukraine battle map that says the flight path of several Storm Shadow cruise missiles fired by Ukraine currently flying towards their targets. Now, this makes it look like they flew over Crimea. So they didn't strike, or at least according to this map, this missile didn't strike Crimea. And this is moving over to, this is actually Krasnodar Krai here as a oblast. And then up there you have Rostov Oblast. So you can see, I think the little white dashed line, that's probably the Oblast border there. So there are claims that there are explosions in Crimea, Rostov, and Donetsk. But then there's also this, and I don't know what to make of this. This might have nothing to do with the cruise missiles and could well be out of cruise missile range there, and more likely to be, so it's 800 kilometers. So this is going to be drones, but it says a missile threat was reported in Astrakhan, 800 kilometers away from Ukraine there. Ukraine's border, marking its first air raid alert since the war began. Restrictions were imposed on flights at Astrakhan airport due to Ukrainian missile risks. So, you know, if it's a missile risk, what missile is going 800 kilometers? Now we know, or at least we're under the impression, that the long Neptune can reach to 1,000 kilometers. So that could be what has been sent. It might have nothing to do with cruise missiles at all. So yeah, lots going on at the moment. I'm just seeing if there is any other detail about what has happened. Here we have, yeah, Rostov, claims of explosions in Rostov here. Let's see what.
Oh, yeah. Раз, два, ой-яй, три. Ай, ой-яй. Ай-яй.
So that looked like electric, sort of light that you see after, it's very white, maybe a sort of substation hit, but I don't know. Who knows? Could just be the filter on the camera or something. And I think that's about it. I'm not seeing anything more. Not just Luhansk city. This is from Dovchansk, still called by its Russian name as Sverdlovsk. So that is deep into the Luhansk region, so close to the Russian border. So yeah, claims about Luhansk being under a lot of pressure at the moment as well. So you got essentially, I think, Luhansk, Donetsk, Crimea, Rostov, and maybe as far as Astrakhan near the Caspian Sea. So quite a lot going on tonight. I think that's really good news as far as the Ukrainians are concerned, because they are using cruise missiles, and we haven't seen that for a long time. It means they have them, and one would assume if they're going to use them, then they are going to be high value targets that they're going to use. If they're lower value targets, it probably means that they are going to be, I mean, that's good news as well, because it means they're probably going to be getting more missiles. I just don't think they'll be using really scarce resources at medium level targets. I think they'll be keeping their Storm Shadow and Scouts to be used at targets that need cruise missiles, especially with that kind of bunker buster technology. So you would assume these are going to be high value strikes, high value targets that they are using these Storm Shadows on. So it's good news they have them, they're using them. I hope it means they're getting more of them. It's difficult to know how many of these they have. There were also claims that they were going to get the JASSM, the American cruise, an American cruise missile as well. Reports about that, but we haven't really heard much since that was touted. I did hear on my thread today, Jason, who okay, provenance and all this, he has been out in Ukraine and working with military units out there. He did say that actually there are planes consistently coming in from the US, so it could well be that the US is providing equipment to Ukraine, just maybe under the radar, or I don't know. He seemed to indicate that it wasn't just stuff that was like previous orders being fulfilled, that he was confident that there was other stuff coming through. So that would be really good news. If it, if there's a difference between the rhetoric and the reality, I'd be happy with that. But yeah, hopefully we'll find out more tomorrow of what might have what success there might have been with a battle damage assessment. But certainly good news so far. Ukrainians giving it back to the Russians. Also a little bit of news that there might have been, when we heard there were 2 Su-34s damaged and 2 destroyed the other day. There might, and it was thought that the 2 damaged were heavily damaged, so there might have been, functionally destroyed. There might have been a 5th one damaged as well as a result of satellite imagery that's coming out at the moment. So that could be good news. It's thought of the 3 helicopters that were hit the other night. 1 is destroyed, 2 were damaged. But again, you had damaged helicopters. It's unknown as to how easy they are to fix, particularly for the Russians and their access to I guess components and whatnot in order to fix that stuff. But there you go. That's enough from me. Just a short one. Sub-hero here saying, John, hear about Lindsey Graham talking that Trump approved the sanctions package to be voted on after the July holiday. I did hear about this. The only problem for the Lindsey Graham package is written into the package is a waiver for Trump. In other words, Trump can unilaterally use it or not use it. So even if they pass this bill, I think it doesn't mean it is then passed into existence. Actually, it's passed by Congress, but Trump still gets the ultimate say as to whether it gets used or not. And given what Trump's rhetoric has been and what his actions have been, it's highly unlikely, to be fair, that he's going to do anything harsh against Russia. So on the one hand, that's good news that he's talking up this bill. He said he's spoken to Trump. He played golf with Trump. That's what he said. Played golf with him and, impressed upon him the need to get this sorted. And Trump seemed to be up for that. But I guess Trump can easily be up for that if he knows that they can pass that. And it's still up to him as to whether it gets eventually passed or not. So, yeah, exactly as Robert Pitt here says. It's passed by Congress. It's good to see you, Robert. I hadn't seen you around for some time. It's passed by Congress, but Trump still gets the final say. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke, that. So, yeah, let's just, before I leave you, because it seems it's all too short at the moment. I'm not used to just having short lives like this. I just want to check whether there is any other news out and about there. Certainly it's refreshing to see, it's probably the wrong kind of language, this is war, it's not refreshing to see cruise missiles being used, but I think it's a good sign for Ukraine if they are using cruise missiles, as I've said a number of times. No. According to the Financial Times, citing a senior official, Putin's primary objective at this stage is to seize control of Odessa. It's just not going to happen. You have to get across Kherson in order to do that. Across the Dnipro in order to do that. So yeah, I just can't see that happening. Lots of talk about interceptor drones and Germany being up for helping with them, but yeah, nothing else about these strikes tonight. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for tuning in. Just a quick breaking news update. Thanks for your support. Take care, and I shall speak to you soon, probably tomorrow morning. Toodle pips.